Campbell doesn't get that, which is amazing because it's actually tied to his employment. Like if he doesn't get one, he won't be employed in 3 years. He said yesterday, I don't think the Lions need an elite quarterback to win. First of all, Jared Goff's pretty good, but he's not elite. He goes, I don't think you need it. I mean, those guys are special. Give you a better chance. But no, I don't believe you have to have one of those guys to have sustained success. All right, name all the coaches employed for over 6-7 years that are average at quarterback. None. Mike Zimmer just got fired. Okay. There's 3 real obvious signs in professional football that quarterback's about 75 to 80% of the game. Number 1, the best quarterback won every division last year. That's that's an obvious one. Second thing is the best defensive coach in the history of the sport, and the best coach, Bill Belichick, could not force a single punt against Josh Allen in Buffalo's last 14 possessions. Couldn't stop him. And the Bills don't have a great running game or a great O-line. They couldn't stop him. Not once. Belichick, defense, not once. And number 3 is, of the top 5 rushing teams last year, none won a playoff game. In fact, 3 of the 4 top rushing teams didn't make the playoffs. This is why Mike Zimmer was fired and Vic Fangio was fired, and why Pete Carroll's about to be. If you don't get how valuable quarterback is, you don't get it. It would be like being a sports radio host in America and saying, yeah, football's popular, but I don't have to talk the NFL much. No. Over 50%. I didn't used to talk 50% NFL, 60%, and then the world changed. And it started pulling away from other leagues and legalized gambling, and now we just watch it more than anything, and it's not even close. So this is where I feel bad for Lions fans, because Detroit actually has a pretty good offensive line. They've got some interesting players. They have a great young tight end, excellent young wide receiver. DeAndre Swift is a remarkable young running back. Their offensive line is good, but they don't score that much because the quarterback's pretty average. That's it. Their running back's top 5. Their tight end, I think, is top 5 or 6. I mean, they've got a couple of really nice. Amon St. Brown was a great rookie receiver. Their offensive line, Penei Sewell, they got 2 good tackles. They got a lot of good offensive pieces. They're just not great at quarterback. There you go. So, and that's not a shot at Jared Goff, but I mean, you saw the Rams, the minute he left, Stafford comes in, it's a whole different ballgame. I mean, a prime example, take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Good God, the roster's stacked. They were 7-9 before Brady got there. Won a Super Bowl the first year in a pandemic year. I mean, Tampa's the greatest example. They just added an old quarterback. You saw the Chiefs and Packers play last year when Aaron didn't play and Jordan Love did. It looked like the same Packer team. One player was different. And it's not like Jordan Love wasn't tall enough. He's 6'4", strong enough, 6'3", athletic. I mean, Jordan Love was a great college quarterback. He's a big kid. He'd been in the system. Just that singular change, Green Bay couldn't move the ball. Had to literally, the whole playbook changed. So if you can't figure this out, I can't help you. There's nothing I can do. You're done. So show yourself to the door. It'll be in a couple years. But if that's how you're viewing things, it's not that difficult. Football's hard. It's not that hard.
I mean, there was a time where you didn't. That is not the case anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just the shift of the league.
A prime example. You have to pursue one-and-done players in college basketball.
Correct.
Gonzaga does, Baylor does, UNC does, all the teams in the Final Four do. Villanova doesn't land them a lot, but you have to go after the one-and-dones because they're going to end up being on the teams that you face in your conference. So Mike Krzyzewski, Bobby Knight never embraced it. That's why he has a very sad last 10 years of coaching. Coach Krzyzewski pushed back on it and then acknowledged, I started facing the one-and-dones. They were on Carolina, and I couldn't beat them. And so, there's certain things you just have to... You
have to be a great recruiter in college football.
There's no exception. There's no exception. If you
don't even have to be a great coach.
No.
You have to be a great recruiter.
Yeah, and now there's just stuff that's really obvious. And I really think the defensive coaches, Belichick, I think, is struggling with this. I think Pete Carroll is. I think Fangio. I think Mike Zimmer. These are smart guys. It's why I don't love Todd Bowles with Tampa. I would have gone with Byron Leftwich. It's just the world has changed. The NFL's given the middle of the field to offense. The rules have given the middle of the field. Used to be defense my entire life. Now it's the offenses. Can't touch anybody. These wide receivers, they'll all go over the middle. You can't stop anybody. Belichick didn't force one punt in the last 2 games against Josh Allen. Belichick. Hour 3 next.
This is the Herdline News.
Let's go to college football in, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Many people were surprised that Brian Kelly decided to leave Notre Dame for LSU.
Whoa.
But he kind of confirmed what I believe you said about why he left Notre Dame for LSU. He said, I felt like I did everything I could do at Notre Dame, and they felt like they did everything they could do for me. And so here we are. I felt like that was what I was looking for, was student-athlete centered, and I wanted to see that piece. And we didn't seem to be on the same path as to how that was going to get accomplished.
Yeah. You can get more great players into LSU. Mm-hmm. First of all, warm weather, stronger conference. The boosters are financially willing to go further. LSU is built to win a national championship. Notre Dame is built to be really strong. But there are limitations. It's a academic center. It has got the religious overlay. It's also cold weather and in the middle of nowhere. It is absolutely, there are 7 or 8 programs in America. It is easier to win a lot of games, and one of them is LSU.
Absolutely. He also admitted that he made frequent requests for more resources and improvements at Notre Dame, and they weren't fulfilled. And he cited the fact that LSU's practice facility has its own nutrition center, dining hall, and a chef dedicated to the football program. He asked for similar upgrades at Notre Dame. These massive college football programs now, in order to stay competitive with recruiting, you have to have state-of-the-art facilities.
Yes.
Like, it sounds good, and a lot of boosters and alumni get caught up in, like, the brand, and they're nostalgic about it.
Yeah.
And it's just, you have to understand that if you have a top-level player and they're walking into Alabama, what they're walking into. Like, you can order food off an app on your phone.
Right.
Like, LSU has a chef for the football team. Like, there are levels to this, and you're just going to have to do so much more to recruit a top kid. You're going to really have to sell them on, you're getting a degree from Notre Dame.
Like Pete, Brian Kelly is really underrated.
Yes.
So Notre Dame, after Lou Holtz left, went through about 5 coaches. He's the one. Not only did he go and win, it got better and better and better. He played Georgia twice. The Georgia team that just won a title. He played them twice in 2 years. And those games with 4 minutes left were undecided. And I'll tell you right now, I was wrong. I never thought Notre Dame would get to that point. I'm a college football addict. I look at the recruiting classes. The fact that he got them within a whisker of Georgia, which to me, Georgia's the only team in the country. LSU and Georgia are the only 2 college football programs in the country in the last 10 years that have played Alabama in the last 10 years, and I have thought at least 1 or 2 of their teams had better players than Alabama. The LSU team with Joe Burrow had more good players. Georgia last year had more good players than Alabama. It was close. But Notre Dame does not have LSU talent, Georgia talent.
No,
it doesn't.
It's not a knock on Notre Dame as a school or as a program.
It's a great
just,
school.
There are limitations.
Yes.
And there are things that you have to overcome when you are in recruiting, and recruiting is the lifeblood of college athletics. That's just what it is. You have to have better players. You can overcome in moments, but if you're going to have a sustained program like that, recruiting is very important. By the way, we're Tigers fans this year for the next sleep.
Oh, well, yeah, because you have a cousin there.
My nephew, yes.
Yeah.
Mason. And Arizona football fans. Yeah. And UM fans. So we'll sneak in USC where we can. So there was a report last season that DeMar DeRozan was going to join the Lakers, and they acquired Russell Westbrook instead. DeRozan thought it was a done deal, but it turns out he might not be too upset that fell through. A report from ESPN recently said, I talked to someone from DeRozan's camp when DeRozan was in town in LA, and the impression that I got from his camp was that DeRozan felt that the Lakers were sort of in disarray. They didn't really have a vision. They didn't know what they were doing.
Well,
that's from young Maisuk from ESPN.
Yeah, you said this yesterday, and it's true. What are they? That's a great... If I say to you, Milwaukee, what are they? Giannis driven, defense first. Like Phoenix, fast, Youthful, athletic,
Yeah.
Golden State for years. The center of three-point shooting. What are the Lakers? Nothing. They don't do anything well.
They haven't had an identity for a long time. It's not just a LeBron thing. That's why I think the fix for the Lakers isn't just with LeBron and AD and Westbrook. Their brand, really, I think, since Kobe left, has really been very confusing. Are they young? Are they a legacy team? Are they a cornerstone of the NBA? Yes, the brand internationally is still massive.
Yes.
They still are the LA Lakers,
the brand
like the
is
New York
big.
Yankees, like the Dallas Cowboys. But what is your identity?
Well, this is great because we just did a Notre Dame story. Brian Kelly talks about this. His first 5 years at Notre Dame, he was just trying to get better players. It wasn't until Brian Kelly said, we had to kind of switch things up. Harbaugh did it this year. Harbaugh said, we've got to become something, not just more good players. And so Georgia, for all their offense, is defensive-led. Alabama, Saban in his prime. Defense, he has pivoted to offense. The Dolphins just pivoted as a franchise to offense. When Brian Kelly said, we're really going to be more about offensive line, power football, control, Notre Dame